Everyone told me being single meant failure. But at midlife, I discovered the opposite. I stopped dating for good, and it turned out to be the most life-giving decision I ever made. Here's why. Back then, I believed happiness was always tied to a partner. I thought life was only complete when you had someone waiting at home, someone to share your meals, is someone to grow old with. But about a decade ago, I discovered something that shocked me. I realized that the version of myself who was single, that was the most authentic and the freest. I know it may sound strange in a culture that worships romance, but stay with me. This story is not about giving up. It is about choosing yourself. And maybe, just maybe, it will change how you see your own life. If you have ever felt pressured to keep dating, just because people expect you to, stick around. You might find relief in what I am about to share. I grew up in a very traditional American household. My parents believed a man's worth was measured by his family. The house, the wife, the kids, the mortgage. That was the scoreboard of success. And for years, I followed that script. I got married young. I worked hard. I tried to provide, to protect, to be the husband I thought I was supposed to be. But life has a way of shaking your certainties. My marriage ended in divorce, and suddenly, I was back on the market. This time in my 40s. I told myself, maybe the next woman would be the right one. Maybe if I kept trying, I would finally get the happy ending I had been chasing since I was 20. So I dated. I signed up for the apps. I sat across countless tables in restaurants. I made small talk about music, about work, about the places we dreamed of visiting. And at first, I convinced myself it was fine. At least I was trying. At least I was not alone. But here is the truth. It was exhausting. It was draining in ways I did not expect. Every time I went on a date, I felt like a little more of me was slipping away. Sometimes it was my mental energy, burned out by the endless texting and guessing games. Sometimes it was my emotional peace, shaken by the roller coaster of hopes rising and crashing. Other times it was my money, those dinners and weekends that left my wallet thinner but my heart still empty. Most of all, it was my time. Time I could never get back. I began to notice a pattern. Instead of feeling excited after each new connection, I felt depleted, like a phone battery that was only draining, never recharging. The more I dated, I felt less alive. As I moved deeper into my 40s, another reality set in. By this age, everyone carries baggage. Divorces, exes, kids to co-parent, old wounds that never fully heal. Dating in midlife was less about building something new and more about negotiating old damage. And then there was the part that really made me stop. I realized many of the women I met were not looking for a partner. They were looking for one of two things: a nurse or a purse, either someone to take care of them or someone to bankroll them. Neither role interested me. I had already spent years bending myself into shapes that were not mine. I did not want to spend the rest of my life in a role I never signed up for. There was one evening when it all crystallized. I came home from another disappointing date. I kicked off my shoes and sat on the edge of my king-size bed. That bed had been mine for years, a symbol of couplehood, even when no one shared it with me. And for the first time, I looked at it and thought, this bed does not represent who I am anymore. It represents who I was trying to be. The very next week, I sold it. I bought a mid-century walnut bed, a full size, like the ones I remembered from my parents' house when I was a boy. The headboard was a bookcase with sliding doors. Simple, classic, perfect for one. That change may sound small, but to me, it was a declaration. I was off the market. I was done bending, compromising, explaining, fixing, and waiting. No more looking. No more hoping that the next person would be the one. I was choosing myself, finally, and fully. That night, as I settled into my smaller bed, I felt lighter than I had in years. Relief washed over me. For the first time since my 20s, I was no longer chasing someone else's script. I was writing my own. And that script began with a single sentence: I am enough. When I made that decision, life began to feel different. My house stopped being a waiting room for a future partner. It became mine in every way. Every room, every wall, every shelf carried my fingerprint alone. I decorated the living room with the records I had collected since college. I hung photos from road trips I once thought were only temporary adventures. Now they felt permanent, like proof that I had been living a full life all along. The kitchen became my laboratory. I cooked how I wanted. Steaks on a Tuesday, pasta at midnight, oysters in the middle of winter just because I felt like driving to the coast. There was no negotiation over what to eat. No compromise about calories or schedules. It was just me. And it was enough. Freedom showed up in my time. Weekends no longer meant debates over plans. No more splitting holidays. No more fights about where to spend Thanksgiving or who to visit for Christmas. If I wanted to wake up late, I did. If I wanted to hit the gym at sunrise, no one was waiting on me. I planned trips the way I wanted, with no guilt, no committee meetings. Sometimes I booked a flight to the West Coast, just to walk along a beach I had not seen in 20 years. Other times, I threw a mattress in the back of my old van and drove with no destination. I would park near a mountain trail. They wake up to birdsong, brew coffee on a small camp stove, and feel completely alive. The more I leaned into singleness, the more I realized how much financial independence mattered. I had always been the main breadwinner in my family. That role came with stress. It came with the constant feeling that my paycheck was never really mine. Divorce made me understand that in painful detail. Joint debt, shared bills, arguments over money that sucked the joy out of everything. Now, my paycheck was mine. Every dollar reflected the hours I worked, the effort I gave, the career I built. I decided when to save, when to invest, when to splurge. I did not have to hide receipts, justify purchases, or explain why I wanted a new set of tools for the garage. That freedom was intoxicating, but the benefits went beyond money. There was also health. I had read studies saying single men often live healthier lives than men trapped in stressful marriages. And I believed it, because I felt it in my own body. Stress is poison. It creeps into your blood pressure, of your sleep, your digestion. It wears you down slowly, until you forget what it feels like to wake up rested. The constant low-level stress of a relationship gone sour was worse than being alone. And once I stepped away from that cycle, my health improved in ways I did not expect. I slept deeper. I felt lighter. I smiled more, without even realizing it. Then came the personal growth. When you are not spending all your energy managing a partner, you suddenly have energy to manage yourself. I picked up hobbies I had abandoned years ago. I went back to photography, capturing the colors of fall leaves in the Northeast. I learned how to fix my own car, not because I had to, but because I wanted the challenge. I read books that had been collecting dust on my shelves. Philosophy, history, novels. Each page felt like fuel, and travel became a kind of therapy. One January, I drove 6 hours to the coast just to taste fresh oysters at a small shack by the water. The air was cold. The waves were gray. But I sat there with a paper plate in front of me and felt like the richest man in the world. No one knew where I was. No one asked when I would be back. The silence was freedom, but perhaps the most underrated gift was peace. No more roller coaster questions. Is this working? Will she call? Should I stay or should I go? That constant hum of uncertainty was gone. In its place was a steady calm, a rhythm that allowed me to breathe fully. I went to bed when I wanted. I woke up when I wanted. There was no snoring next to me. No unspoken tension hanging in the air. Just me, my breath, my thoughts, and the quiet assurance that I was exactly where I needed to be. Of course, I will not pretend everything was perfect. There were challenges. Social pressure was one of them. People often assumed I must be lonely, or secretly still looking, or somehow incomplete without a woman by my side. Friends invited me to dinners where I was the odd man out, the third wheel at a table full of couples. And eventually, many of my single friends paired off again, leaving me behind in their new couple routines. Yes, there were moments of emptiness. The house was quiet. If something broke, I had to handle it or pay someone to fix it. There was no partner to share the load. I had to be more intentional about building community, reaching out to friends, spending time with family, and sometimes learning to simply enjoy my own company. But here is the truth. Those challenges were inconveniences. The benefits were life-changing. I was not sacrificing. I was choosing. And that made all the difference. As the years passed, I noticed something else. When I looked at the big picture, I realized I had been single for the majority of my adult life. I had become used to handling things on my own. And honestly, I found it strange when I heard men my age say they did not know how to do simple things for themselves. Hanging blinds, fixing a loose doorknob, checking their own oil. These were basic tasks. But for me, they symbolized something bigger. Independence was not just about money or time. It was about confidence. It was about knowing that even when life threw problems my way, I could handle them. And somewhere in that journey, I began to see a deeper truth. Many men stay in relationships not because they are thriving, but because they are afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of what people will think. Afraid of starting over. But what if starting over is not the end? What if it is the beginning? The turning point came when I finally admitted something to myself. Being alone in a marriage is lonelier than being single. I had seen it happen to friends. Men who stayed married for decades, but who walked through their houses like shadows. They ate dinner at the same table, but had nothing to say. They slept in the same bed, but rolled to opposite sides like strangers. They smiled at family gatherings, but behind closed doors, they felt invisible. And I knew that life, I had lived pieces of it myself, giving everything I had, but getting almost nothing back. Silencing my own needs just to keep the peace. Becoming a ghost in my own home. That is not love. That is survival. And it will eat you alive if you let it. So here is what I tell men who feel stuck. I am not saying pack your bags tonight. I am not telling you to slam the door and disappear. But I am saying this. It is not too late to choose yourself. It is not too late to say, I want peace. I want joy. I want to feel alive again. Breaking free is scary. I know. But staying stuck costs more. It costs your health. It costs your years. It costs your sense of self. And once those are gone, you cannot get them back. Sometimes the bravest, the most life-giving thing a man can do is walk away from what is no longer working. Not because he failed, but because he finally learned to succeed on his own terms. This is the only life you have. And the clock is ticking. I see so many men in midlife, exhausted by relationships that drain them. They keep dating because they think society demands it. They hear the voices saying, you do not want to die alone. But here is the truth nobody tells you. Many men do not die alone. They die exhausted, carrying the weight of a relationship that stopped giving years ago. They spend their so-called golden years taking care of someone who sees them only as a nurse or as a purse. I knew I did not want that life. And you do not have to want it either. You can choose a different path. Choosing to be single does not mean choosing to be unloved. My life is full of love. From my kids, from my brothers, from lifelong friends who know me better than anyone else, even from myself, in ways I never imagined. I find joy in simple things. Sitting on my porch before sunset, hearing the crickets and the distant hum of traffic, feeling the evening breeze on my face. That quiet moment is love too, because it comes without conditions, without fear, without performance. The difference now is that I am no longer outsourcing my worth to whether someone chooses me. I choose me. Do not get me wrong. I am not against love, but I am for authenticity. And for me, authenticity means being single. It means waking up every day knowing I am living a life that is mine, not a role I was pressured to play. And if you feel even a spark of recognition in this, maybe it is time to ask yourself a question. What would it look like if you stopped chasing and started choosing? I know some of you listening right now are not single. You are in marriages or relationships that feel hollow. On paper, it all looks fine. A house, shared finances, maybe even children grown and gone. But in your heart, you know the truth. You are alone, even though you are not by yourself. If that is you, I want to say this gently but clearly. You deserve more than survival. You deserve a life where you feel alive. When I look back now, I realize the decision to stop dating for good was not about giving up. It was about finally living. It was about refusing to waste the second half of my life pretending that compromise was happiness. It was about declaring that freedom is better than settling. The pros of singleness are not small perks. They are life-changing. Peace, health, time, energy, freedom. Those are not luxuries. Those are the foundations of a meaningful life. The cons, the loneliness, the social pressure, the occasional quiet. Those are inconveniences. They are bumps on the road. But the destination, the life you create on your own terms, that is worth everything. So let me leave you with this. If you are giving everything you have and getting little in return, if you are silencing yourself just to avoid another fight, if you feel like a stranger in your own home, remember this. You have a choice. You can stay in survival, or you can step into freedom. I chose freedom. I chose authenticity. I chose me. And I have never once regretted it. If this resonates with you, hit subscribe below. I share more stories about midlife reinvention, about freedom, and about building a life you do not want to escape from. And in the comments, tell me this. Have you ever thought about choosing singleness on purpose? If you did, what space would that open in your life? What passions? What peace? What possibilities would finally have room to breathe? I would love to hear your story. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, stay true, and never forget, you are enough.